What's up YouTube, MX Guru here, and today I have a new product to talk about with you. One that just might be able to take your photography, videography, or YouTube channel to the next level. I present to you the Feiyutech AK2000 gimbal. First of all, I have to start off with a disclaimer. I am not a photographer. I am not a videographer. I'm just a YouTuber, mostly a motorcycle rider and motorcycle mechanic. But because I'm a YouTuber, all of us YouTubers have to have a little bit of dabbling in camera gear, accessories, whatever we use to create with. And this is how I ended up with this. So I used to do all my filming. Originally, I did a lot of filming with the GoPro. You quickly realize that won't cut it. Then I moved to smartphones. Samsung S9s, they did pretty well, but I really needed my colors to pop. I needed more options, and that's when I ended up going with the Canon M50 mirrorless. Back when I filmed with the Samsung S9s, I could use something simple like this, the DJI Osmo 2. Just a plastic toy gimbal, more or less. That was fine. But when you move up to something a little bigger and a little better, like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, you have to have something better. And that's how I came to the AK2000. This is a professional gimbal. This thing has a super strong 2.8 kilogram payload capacity. That's not only large enough to hold my mirrorless or my DSLR, but it will also hold my mirrorless with this massive lens. This is the 18 to 135 EFS with the COM light adapter on it, and it's a stabilized lens. So it's a pretty decent lens for this little mirrorless camera. It's pretty bulky, and this thing handles it absolutely no problem. It still comes in a good bit under the payload. There's a lot of amateur YouTubers out there that are using cameras like this. M50s, SL2s, 70, 80D, stuff like that. Not necessarily professional videographers, but just amateur YouTubers that need a decent picture. And this is still a budget mirrorless camera at about $500 or $600. You still need stability, and this gimbal can give it to you. All right, guys, so we already talked about the 6-pound payload. It's also got an angled motor arm, 360-degree pan, tilt, and roll motion. It's got this hand wheel on the side, so you can use this to move it back and forth. You can also zoom and focus with it, which I thought was super cool. All right, so let's talk about the specs on this AK2000. It's a compact 3-axis gimbal stabilizer supporting up to 6 pounds. It's designed with an angled motor arm so there's nothing blocking your camera screen, which is really sweet. The touchscreen LCD, the joystick, and the thumb wheel all work together to let you assign and adjust all the settings of the gimbal. You can also use the companion app on iOS and Android to control the gimbal as well. That's free, of course. Of course, it's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It boasts a 12-hour battery life. I haven't tested that, but I can tell you that I've had this thing for a couple weeks. I've been using it on and off for different things, and the batteries are just now reading half charge. So I don't think batteries are going to be an issue with this at all. It's got a USB expansion on it so that you can charge the camera and accessories from the gimbal, which is awesome. It's got a ton of different modes: pan mode, lock mode, follow mode, auto rotation mode. I mean, it's got more things than I will ever use, most of it which I don't even understand. Another cool thing is it's got a 1/4-inch mount holes for accessories. There's one in the front, and the coolest thing is it comes with a tripod on the a mini tripod for the bottom, and each one of those legs has a 1/4 inch screw in it for accessories. You can mount a screen there, a light, whatever you want. So let's talk about build quality. This does not feel like any gimbal I've ever touched before. I only have experience with phone gimbals, smartphone gimbals, and they're fine, but they all are plastic. They feel like a toy compared to this thing. This is an all aluminum alloy finish. I mean, it just feels more like a professional tool than almost any of the camera equipment I have. Even the legs, it's just all beautifully CNC'd. It looks good, it feels good. The grip on it is already rubberized. You don't have to add anything. There's no putting tape on it or adding a grip to it. I mean, this thing feels ready to go. As soon as you take this out of the box, you're going to know that it's a solid piece of equipment. It just gives you a sturdy feeling. Nothing feels cheap about it. Speaking of the box is pretty cool within itself. From the outside, it just looks like a styrofoam box, but it's actually nicely constructed, guys. It's got slots for everything. It's well made. The gimbal goes right back in there. It's got nice reinforced hinges, and it's got locks down here on the bottom. Lock that, and it is not coming open. That is nicer than I expected to come right out of the box. For beginners, setting this up might take you just a few minutes to get it balanced. It's a little more involved than balancing a smartphone, but once you get it balanced, it's good to go. Basically, you adjust these 3 arms in the specific order the manual tells you, and the only thing you'll ever have to mess with again if you're using the same lens is the little slider on the front. And you can just release this lever, it'll slide off. But when you get it balanced, you'll know it's balanced because you can set the camera any way you want and it'll stay there. Even at some weird sideways, cockeyed way, it'll stay right where it's at. So now you get it balanced, and your last part of the balancing is this little slider on the side right here. And what's cool is it's marked off with numbers and etch marks, so you can just remember what mark it was on. And when you pull this thing off, which is super quick and easy, and when you go to put this thing back on, all you have to do is just remember what number it was on. And I know that mine was on 5 and 2 marks. Should be pretty close right there. Yep, good to go. All right, so let's power it up. Another thing I like is the screen is plenty bright enough to see even in the daylight, which is surprising. The buttons all feel good here, guys. They don't feel cheap. And the joystick is not just a 4-way D-pad, it's a true joystick, so you can go diagonal. So that's cool. And there's an indicator on the screen to show you what you're doing with your joystick and how much direction you're giving it to each way. The thumb wheel feels good. Even the thumb wheel's metal. Perfect for those minute movements. And you can see it's working perfectly. I'm getting no vibration. When I first saw this LCD screen, I was kind of worried that it might be kind of a gimmick, a little janky, and maybe I wouldn't be able to use it to really change settings and mess with things, but it actually works really good. Pretty responsive. See there, I'm changing modes. There, right there, I'm changing what the thumb wheel does. There's my battery percentage, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, it's all right there. Everything feels good. Power down, really quick and easy. Powers up quick, no messing around. Here on the side, you've got a lock button. There's your USB. This button I actually haven't messed with yet, but it's kind of like a trigger. I think you can take a picture with it or start your recording or do some different stuff. You definitely have plenty of options with this thing. Another thing you can really appreciate about this gimbal is the way it's made. There's not a lot of stuff in your way, which is a big problem with other gimbals. I mean, with this M50, I can pull my screen out, I can flip my screen around any way I need to go, put it back. If I have a normal lens, I can actually set this camera up to where I can access my bottom door and get my battery and SD out. But because I have this larger lens on the front, I don't have enough room. And that's really just some convenience for me because that's the lens I always shoot with. Most people won't need a lens like that, and you can run a normal, your 15 to 45 kit lens or your 50 millimeter nifty 50 with adapter, and you'll be able to run the camera back far enough or up far enough to where you can get into your bottom door. But something super cool about this is this thing will actually rotate the camera 360 degrees. Even with this massive lens on here. Okay, I mean it's close because of my lens size. And that's asking a lot of that gimbal. But it will do it. Obviously it'll rotate this direction until the end of time if you want. So definitely, the only thing lacking with this gimbal is within myself, my knowledge as a photographer on what I can use it for. When I first took this thing out of the box and was messing with it, I did get a little bit of vibration, and then I'd also have a couple spots. I'd come to like right here, and it would start vibrating, and that was basically just because I hadn't went into the settings. If you swipe to the left and go to payload setting, it's got auto adapt and it's got level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went from auto adapt to level 2 and it fixed itself perfectly. I had no vibration since. After being used to a smartphone gimbal, it does feel heavy. A lot of it's my lens. You put a bigger lens like that on it and you have a massive gimbal like this, it's going to feel heavy. And at first I didn't even notice the tripod legs that it came with it, and I was kind of bummed out because there isn't really enough room to get both hands on the grip here. And they do actually sell a grip extension, which gives you about the same length again, and you can easily get two hands on it for boom shots and stuff. But you really don't need it because this really nice CNC tripod piece comes with it. Screw that on the bottom, and it's about the same size, so you just end up being able to grip it both right there and get nice boom shots. Another thing to tell you is this is my first Feiyutech product, so I can't really say about how much they improved from the A1000 or the A2000. And I really have no experience with large DSLR mirrorless gimbals at all. Previous to Hyper Smooth on the GoPro, I used the GoPro Karma grip for my GoPro Hero 5. I've used the Osmo 2. I've used the Rider M, but I have never used a Feiyutech product or a large gimbal whatsoever, so I don't have a lot to compare it to, but it's by far the nicest piece of camera equipment, the nicest, most well-built gimbal that I've come by yet. And I can already tell you it's definitely more than a motorcycle YouTuber like I need. I have seen some pictures and videos of the old A1000, and I do know that back then I think this motor was like right in front of the camera screen, and now they positioned it perfectly. I mean, I have nothing. Not only can I see the screen, I could probably still use some of the viewfinder if I wanted to. I can still get to all my buttons. It really is really nice. It's not too close to the motor on the right side, so I can still pop my door open, get to my HDMI, get to my micro USB. None of that's an issue. There's plenty of space. It's just really well designed. All right, guys, these were just some initial first thoughts from just having this thing for a couple weeks. I'm going to use it more, watch for more videos to come out. I'm going to give you more thoughts. I'm going to put some how-tos, and we're really going to get to learn this thing really good, and I'm excited. So stick around, and thank you.